He was searching for big box PC games at a local secondhand bookstore. What he found was 21 metal albums he had never heard before. This is Thrift Blast.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Thrift Blast. I am your host, Daniel Terry. As you heard in the intro, I am going through a plethora of metal albums that I have never heard before, that I happened to find at a used bookstore, and I am very excited to be presenting these three to you tonight. The first one I've got is by a band called Well of Souls. And you might wonder what a band like Well of Souls would call their album. Well, they called it Well of Souls. So there you go. You don't really have to think too hard about this one. The cover artwork was very striking to me, as it's kind of a darkish blue sky. It kind of reminds me of a Mystery Science Theater episode I saw one time where they're like, wow, it's awfully blue out today, which is pretty much exactly what this cover looks like. You've got Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars standing there looking very grim and evil in a graveyard. There's a tower next to him, or maybe it's a mausoleum. I really can't tell from this perspective. Whenever I opened up the case, though, what I saw was very interesting and completely changed what I thought this was going to be like. Because when it's called Well of Souls, I immediately think, okay, it's got to be like some sort of like black metal or maybe death metal sort of thing. This was not the case at all. You open it up and you've got a Celtic cross on the CD. It says Well of Souls. And on the left, you can see the band picture. These guys look like they worship the ground Black Sabbath walks on. They're all wearing crosses. They're all dressed in black. They've got some weird kind of newer black metal type metal attire on with like spiked wristbands. And I think one of them is actually wearing a legitimate Hot Topic studded belt with what appears to be a wallet chain. It's weird too, though, because he's got really long hair, but he appears to be balding in the back. He looks kind of like Doug Walker from That Guy with the Glasses, only with long hair and aged by about 40 years. Not here to criticize the band, but this was kind of an awkward band photo, and I kind of just look at it and laugh whenever I see it. Musically, though, these guys dropped some pretty solid fucking riffs. That's the first thing I noticed. So this band is not out to be brutal in the traditional sense. They are being brutal in a Black Sabbath or Candlemass sort of way, where they're just going to hit you with all of these riffs at kind of more of a slower, more mid-paced speed. And actually, I kind of really enjoy it. The only thing I don't really like about it are the vocals. The vocals are good, but the way they're delivered, are like he's got a good singing voice, but the way he delivers his vocals is very monotone. And I know he's going for probably like some sort of doom metal thing here, but it doesn't really hit the way some of those old singers sound. You know, Ozzy Osbourne didn't just get up there and just start delivering the same lines in the same rhythmic pattern over and over and over and over again. As far as I can remember anyway. Maybe I'd have to go back and listen to some of their older albums, but I don't remember anything on Master of Reality sounding like this. Well of Souls is a really cool album if you're into doom metal, but I will say that there are probably bands out there like Candlemass that are going to be a lot better at this style. So I would personally stick with that, but this is kind of a weird curiosity. So if you see it in a thrift store, definitely buy it. The next album really took me by surprise because looking at the cover, I thought this is going to be grindcore. There's no way around it. I mean, there's people dying. It seems to be an old-time painting. The band's called Koldbrann or Koldbrann or Koldbrann. Whichever one is correct, I'm not sure. I did find out, because I can use Google, I found out that Koldbrann actually means gangrene in Norwegian. Pretty much all the lyrics on this album are in Norwegian, so I couldn't tell you what the hell this guy's talking about, but it probably has something to do with Satan. I'm guessing, because despite the name being gangrene and the cover artwork looking super brutal, this band does not play grindcore. They actually play true Norwegian black metal. That's like some Satan standing over your shoulder kind of shit. So what you actually get with this album is probably, it's really long. That's the first thing that gets me, is the first song is exceptionally long for a black metal song, coming in somewhere around the 5-minute mark. Because I remember I was like, I'm going to try to get through this as quick as I can, because I'm not a huge fan of like raw black metal. But as far as the sound quality goes, this actually sounds pretty good. You can hear the guitar. It's all just dissonant blast beat type of stuff. So in a way, it has kind of that grindcore aesthetic in that it is trying to be unrelenting And it definitely achieves that, but it's definitely more in the true Norwegian black metal style with shrieking vocals, blast beats, dissonant riffing. It's just all over the place, and it's kind of fun. It's really hard to get through an entire album of, though. Like, listening to 11 songs of this, I was kind of like, oh, man, like, I get what you guys are going for, but... so I would say if you're a black metal fan, this is actually probably really good. It doesn't really hit me where a good metal album hits me, but it's actually pretty good. It came out on Twilight, it looks like, was the name of the record label. And the thing that I think is really interesting, and I want to read this because on the back of the CD, there is a drum trigger with a no smoking sign in front of it. And it says, "Triggers are no fun. Triggers ruin the life and happiness of millions. It must stop. We must appeal in particular to the youth of today. Stop the madness. There are better things in life." I thought that was really funny because it's presented as like an anti-drug or an anti-violence ad, and it's very serious, but then you're like, okay, well, all right, guys, we get it. You didn't use fucking triggers, which I mean is actually pretty admirable for an album that sounds like this because there is some extremely fast drumming found here. Definitely cool if you're into black metal, not really my thing, but moving on. This last one was really cool. It's a split album between two bands. One band is called Aphotic, and the other band is called Dusk. They play very different styles. So Aphotic starts it off, and they call their half of the album, which is the first 4 songs, To Find New Darkness. I don't know how dark it is because despite having very gnarly, gravelly, black metal-ish vocals, musically this actually sounds very melodic and almost gothy in places, but the dude just kind of gurgles over all of it. So, I mean, in a certain sense, you could call it black metal, but the drums sound extremely fake to me. It's just like one continuous drum beat. There's not a whole lot of variation, which leads me to believe that somebody programmed the drums on this, that they were not played on an actual kit or even a digital kit. Doesn't really take away from it, though, because it's very keyboard-driven musically. The guitar's there, but kind of more just to create atmosphere, which is weird. That's normally what you would use the keyboards for. I thought Aphotic was cool. I would love to hear an entire album by them because I think that they could really pull it together. I don't think that these 4 songs really represent the band as well as maybe they think that it does. Dusk, on the other hand, is totally weird. The first song that they have on this, which is track 5, it's called An Aerial View, is like a really beautiful atmospheric piece with clean singing, and it just has some really nice keyboards in the background. And then you go to track 6, Steal My Soul, and you're like, oh shit, this is what Dusk actually sounds like. And it is like some really fucking brutal death metal. It's okay. It's not brutal death metal like a Cannibal Corpse or something like that, but it is so immediately contrasting from the rest of the other songs, including the songs by Aphotic, that I was kind of really taken aback. The vocals are absolutely guttural and killer. But I mean, these guys are heavy as fuck, and I was not expecting that at all. Now, they do switch it up, so like a couple tracks later, I think it's on Perpetual Shrieks, which is an awesome name. They start off really brutal, and they hold that. And I would love to hear them play an entire album this style. But what they've done in these 4 tracks that they have, I'm sorry, no, it is 5 tracks that they have. They seem to want to kind of counterbalance or make it more dynamic by adding these melodic pieces to it. But I don't think they need that. I think the brutal stuff actually sounds better and fits a lot better with this band's sound. Like, if you want people to know what Dusk sounds like, show them fucking Perpetual Shrieks. That song's fucking crazy. I don't really understand what they were going for with the more melodic bits because they don't really blend into the band's overall sound. But these were a lot of fun. These 3 albums were a ton of fun to listen to, and for getting them as cheaply as I did, they've definitely opened up the door for me to check out some of these bands' other releases. That is it for this episode of Thrift Blast. I hope you guys are enjoying this series. If you're a Patreon subscriber for Discography Discussion, you've already heard this. We've really enjoyed doing this series for you guys. If you like the series, leave us a comment. Let us know what you like about it. Let us know if you don't like it for some reason or something that we could do better. We just want your feedback. We want to kind of expand what we do on our podcasts and give you guys something a little bit more interesting or something a little bit more out of the box. And I'll see you guys again next week on Thrift Blast.